1800 hours Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Prime Minister, while talking to the Turkish Foreign Minister in Islamabad today, stressed the importance of transforming bilateral relations into a robust economic partnership. Pakistan and Turkey have agreed to pursue a joint strategy on matters of mutual interest to further strengthen their bilateral relations. Pakistan and Japan have agreed to further enhance bilateral relations in different sectors, including railways projects. The Minister for Communications says the Prime Minister has internationalized and revived the Kashmir issue, and the United Nations Security Council discussed the dispute for 3 times last year. In Syria, 23 people, including 7 government troops and 16 allied fighters, have been killed in Israeli air raids in Deir ez-Zor province. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a resolution with 223 to 205 votes calling for the removal of President Donald Trump from the office under the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan has emphasized the importance of working to combat Islamophobia and promote better understanding of the reverence Muslims have for the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. He was talking to the Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu, who called on him in Islamabad today. During the meeting, Pakistan-Turkey bilateral relations and regional and international issues were discussed. Reaffirming the exceptional nature of Pakistan-Turkey political relationship, the Prime Minister stressed the importance of transforming it into a robust economic partnership. The shared resolve on both sides to further upgrade trade, investment, defence, educational and cultural cooperation was reaffirmed. The Prime Minister thanked Turkey for its steadfast support on the Kashmir dispute and highlighted the detrimental Indian actions posing a threat to peace and security. In the regional context, the Prime Minister underscored the importance Pakistan attaches to a peaceful solution of the conflict in Afghanistan. It was agreed to maintain high-level exchanges and further build Pakistan-Turkey strategic relationship to the mutual benefit of the two countries and its peoples. Pakistan and Turkey have underlined the need for a joint mechanism to strengthen bilateral cooperation on international matters, besides calling for a combined strategy in the wake of the growing Islamophobia. The understanding came during a meeting between the Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi and his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Cavusoglu in Islamabad today. The two foreign ministers agreed on early implementation of the decisions taken by the High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council at its meeting held in Islamabad. During the meeting, the foreign minister urged the international community to pressurize India to grant access to neutral observers to the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir to make them aware of the facts. The Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu thanked Shah Mahmood Qureshi for a warm welcome and said they considered Pakistan as their second home. He also underlined to continue joint efforts to strengthen trade and economic cooperation. The President, Dr. Arif Alvi, has conferred Hilal-e-Pakistan on the Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu in recognition of his services for international peace and security and further strengthening of Pakistan-Turkey bilateral relationship. The investiture ceremony was held at the Awan Sadr in Islamabad today. Pakistan and Japan have agreed to further enhance bilateral relations in different sectors, including cooperation in projects of the railways. The agreement was reached during a meeting between the Minister for Railways Azam Khan Swati and the Japanese ambassador to Pakistan Kuninori Matsuda in Islamabad today. Azam Khan Swati invited the Japanese investors to get benefit of the huge investment opportunities in Pakistan. The Egyptian ambassador to Pakistan, Tariq Darroch, called on the special assistant to the Prime Minister on Overseas Pakistanis, Zulfikar Abbas Bukhari, in Islamabad today. During the meeting, the Egyptian ambassador apprised him that Egypt wants to forge cooperation with Pakistan in tourism sector. They also discussed new avenues to further enhance cooperation in diverse sectors. The Minister for Communications, Murad Saeed, has said the people have rejected the narrative of the alliance of the opposition parties. Addressing a news conference in Islamabad today, he said politics of the opposition parties is based on vested interests. The minister said Prime Minister Imran Khan internationalized and revived the Kashmir dispute after a lapse of more than 50 years. The United Nations Security Council discussed the dispute thrice last year. Speaking on the occasion, the Minister for Kashmir Affairs Ali Amin Gandapur said Maulana Fazlur Rahman is using seminary students for organizing public rallies for his personal interest. This is Radio Pakistan. The President, Dr. Arif Alvi, says 500,000 soldiers came into the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir instead of the so-called investment as claimed by Narendra Modi while imposing black laws. In a tweet today, he said, when imposing black laws in occupied territory, Modi had claimed that investment would flood in, but no money arrived and soldiers came, filling the streets. Sharing the New York Times report on the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir situation, the president said besides the streets filled by the troops, internet, television and telephone services had been closed down in the territory. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference has appealed to the people to further solidify their unity in order to achieve freedom from the Indian unlawful occupation. The appeal has been made in posters published by the All Parties Hurriyat Conference and pasted at various vantage points in the occupied territory. The posters mentioned that the unresolved Kashmir dispute was the biggest hurdle to peace and political stability in the South Asian region and urged the United Nations to take steps for peaceful settlement of the dispute. The posters inscribed with matchless sacrifices of Kashmiris for the just cause of freedom and called upon the world to stop India from illegally changing the demography of the occupied territory. The Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Alliances, through posters, also asked the people to thwart Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh anti-Kashmiris policies with unity. In Syria, 23 people, including 7 Syrian soldiers and 16 Allied fighters, have been killed in air raids by Israel. According to Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, Israeli Air Force carried out more than 18 attacks against multiple targets in an area stretching from the eastern town of Deir ez-Zor to Al-Bukamul Desert at the Syrian-Iraqi border. The raids also wounded 28 troops and militiamen, some of them critically. Syria has said Israeli jets struck Iran-backed militias' bases near the Iraqi border, describing the raid as one of Israel's most extensive in recent months. There were no immediate comments from an Israeli military spokesman, but Israel's Defense Force Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi said last month the missile strikes had slowed down Iran's entrenchment in Syria. The American House of Representatives is expected to vote later today on the unprecedented second impeachment of President Donald Trump. Democrats hold a majority in the chamber and have enough votes to approve impeachment on their own, but they are being joined by a growing number of Republicans. If the House approves the impeachment resolution, the matter moves to the Senate for a trial. The impeachment resolution is the second of 2 routes the House Democrats pursued to try to remove the president from the office in response to the Capitol attack. Earlier, the House passed a resolution with 223 to 205 votes, which was almost entirely along party lines. And finally, the weather. Very cold weather is likely to prevail in Kashmir, Gilgit, Baltistan, Upper Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and North Balochistan, while cold conditions and dry weather has been forecast in other parts of the country during the next 12 hours. Dense fog is likely to prevail in the plain areas of the Punjab. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch the live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News.